The mining colony on Theta 7 was supposed to be empty. That's what the scanners showed when the luminous Accord entered orbit. Just abandoned equipment and frozen rock. But sensors don't lie. There was a heat signature in the wreckage near the old processing plant. Something alive. Commander Zelatoth sent down a scout team. Marcus Webb went with them, carrying his medical kit and scanner. As the human xenobiology specialist, he always checked any life forms they found. Usually it was nothing interesting. Some frozen bacteria. Maybe a hibernating rock borer. This time was different. The wreckage was from a poacher's ship, illegal by every Galactic Council law. It had crashed hard maybe a week ago. Metal was twisted and scattered across the ice. And in the center, trapped under a collapsed beam, was something that made the entire scout team freeze. A Vorathian apex. Marcus had only seen pictures. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Vorathians. They were monsters from the edge of Council space. Wolf-like predators that stood 7 feet tall with crystalline fangs that could bite through steel. Their claws could tear open ship hulls. Their intelligence made them even more dangerous because they hunted in packs and set traps. Hundreds of colonists had died to Vorathian attacks over the years. The Council's official policy was simple: shoot on sight. But this one couldn't attack anyone. She was dying. The female Vorathian lay on her side, her silver fur matted with dried blood. Plasma burns covered her body, probably from the crash. One of her legs was bent at a wrong angle. Her breathing came in shallow gasps that created small clouds in the freezing air. She should have been alone. Vorathians were solitary hunters except during mating season. But she wasn't alone. 3 cubs huddled against her stomach, trying to stay warm. They were small, maybe the size of earth dogs, with oversized paws and ears. Their crystalline markings hadn't fully developed yet, just faint lines under their gray fur. They made small whimpering sounds and pressed closer to their mother. The mother Vorathian's eyes opened when the scout team approached. They glowed with a faint blue light. She tried to lift her head, tried to bare her fangs, but she was too weak. Still, she managed to curve her body around her cubs, putting herself between them and the strangers. Back to the ship, Zelatoth ordered immediately. "We're leaving." "Sir, we could help them," Marcus said. He was already scanning the mother's vital signs. Bad but not hopeless. With medical treatment she might survive. Help a Vorathian? The security officer laughed like Marcus had made a joke. "They're killers. Council protocol says we eliminate them." "They're not attacking us," Marcus pointed out. "She's injured and protecting her young." "She's too weak to attack," Zelatoth said. His voice was firm. "In a few days she'll be dead. The cubs will follow. It's better this way. Quicker than starving." Marcus looked at the cubs again. One of them met his eyes. It tilted its head, curious despite its fear. Just like a puppy. Just like any young creature that didn't understand why the world was suddenly cold and painful. "We can't just leave them," Marcus said. "We can and we will. That's an order, Webb. Back to the ship. Now." The team climbed back into the shuttle. Through the window, Marcus watched the mother Vorathian struggle to pull her cubs closer. The temperature was dropping as the planet's sun set. They had maybe a day, maybe 2 before the cold finished what the crash had started. The shuttle lifted off. The colony disappeared below them. On the ship, the crew relaxed. Another problem avoided. Another dangerous situation handled by simply walking away. But Marcus couldn't stop thinking about those 3 small cubs and their dying mother. He couldn't stop seeing that look in the cubs' eyes. That night, while the rest of the crew slept, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in his quarters staring at the ceiling while the ship hummed around him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those cubs huddled against their dying mother. He saw the way she tried to protect them even though she could barely move. The ship's computer said the temperature on Theta 7 would drop to minus 40 degrees tonight. The cubs wouldn't survive that. Neither would their mother. At 0300 hours, Marcus got up. He moved quietly through the corridors to the medical bay. He filled a pack with supplies: thermal blankets, medical gel, antibiotics, pain medication, protein rations. Things that might work on Vorathian biology. Things that might not. He had never treated a Vorathian before. Nobody had. They were always killed before anyone got close enough to try. "What are you doing?" Marcus turned. It was Sarah, the ship's engineer. She stood in the doorway watching him pack. "Nothing," Marcus said. "Go back to bed. You're going back for them. For those creatures." She didn't sound surprised. "Marcus, they're Vorathians. Do you know how many people they've killed?" "I know the numbers," Marcus said quietly. He kept packing. 97% aggression rate toward other species. 243 documented attacks. 412 deaths. And you want to save them anyway? Marcus stopped. He looked at her. On Earth we had wolves. Beautiful animals. Smart. But dangerous. For thousands of years humans killed them. We were terrified of them. We told stories about how evil they were. We hunted them almost to extinction. So we were wrong. Wolves weren't evil. They were just surviving. Once we stopped being afraid long enough to understand them, everything changed. Now they're protected, studied, respected. He closed his pack. Maybe Varathians are the same. Maybe nobody's ever tried to understand them. Or maybe they really are monsters and you'll die trying to pet them. Marcus smiled slightly. Maybe. But I have to try. Sarah shook her head. You humans are insane. You know that, right? Every other species in the galaxy has survival instincts. You people have whatever the opposite of that is. We call it compassion. We call it stupidity. But Sarah stepped aside. The emergency shuttle in Bay 3 has a faulty log system. If someone took it, there wouldn't be a record for a few hours. Just enough time for, say, a quick unauthorized trip to a planet's surface. Marcus stared at her. Thank you. Don't thank me. I'm not helping you. I'm just telling you about a technical malfunction. She turned to leave, then paused. Marcus? If you die down there, I'm telling everyone you were an idiot. Deal. 20 minutes later, Marcus was piloting the shuttle back toward Theta 7. His hands shook on the controls. This was against every regulation. If the Varathian attacked him, he would die. If the commander found out, his career was over. But he kept thinking about Earth's history. About all the times humans had been told something was impossible and did it anyway. The shuttle landed near the wreckage. Marcus grabbed his pack and stepped out into the freezing wind. The twin moons cast pale light across the ice. He could see the crashed ship ahead, dark and silent. He walked slowly toward it. His breath came out in clouds. His heart hammered in his chest. The mother Varathian was still alive. Barely. Her eyes opened when Marcus approached, glowing in the darkness. She made a sound low and threatening. Her cubs were pressed against her, shivering. Marcus stopped 3 meters away. He set down his pack slowly where she could see it. Then he sat down in the snow. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. His voice was steady even though he was terrified. I'm here to help. If you'll let me. The Varathian bared her crystalline fangs. They caught the moonlight like knives. Marcus didn't move. He just sat there in the freezing cold and waited. 2 hours passed. Marcus sat in the snow without moving. His legs went numb from the cold. His fingers tingled inside his gloves. But he didn't stand up. He didn't reach for his pack. He just sat there, 3 meters from a dying predator, and waited. The mother Varathian watched him the entire time. Her glowing eyes never left him. She was calculating, Marcus realized. Trying to understand what he wanted. Why he wasn't attacking. Why he wasn't leaving. One of the cubs made a small crying sound. It was hungry. The mother tried to move closer to comfort it, but pain made her whimper. Her injured leg wouldn't support her weight. Marcus spoke softly. I have food. And medicine. I can help you. I promise I won't hurt your babies. The Varathian's ears flicked at the sound of his voice. Did she understand? The galaxy said Varathians were just smart animals. But those eyes looked too intelligent to be just instinct. Another hour passed. The mother's breathing got worse. She was fading. Marcus knew if he didn't act soon, it would be too late. But if he moved too fast, she might use her last strength to attack him. Protecting her cubs even if it killed her. Then something changed. The mother Varathian's eyes closed. Her body went limp. For a terrible moment, Marcus thought she had died. But no, her chest still moved. She had made a choice. She was too weak to fight anymore. She was giving up. Or maybe, just maybe, she was trusting him. Marcus moved slowly. Every movement was careful and deliberate. He crawled forward on his hands and knees, making himself small and non-threatening. The cubs watched him with wide eyes. One of them growled, a tiny sound that would have been cute if it wasn't showing razor-sharp baby teeth. It's okay, Marcus whispered. I'm here to help your mama. He reached the mother first. Up close she was massive. Even injured and starving, she was pure muscle and predator design. Her crystalline fangs were as long as his fingers. Her claws could tear him apart in seconds if she wanted. Marcus opened his pack and pulled out the medical gel. He had modified it for Varathian biology based on his scans. He hoped he got the chemistry right. He spread the gel carefully over her plasma burns. The mother's eyes opened slightly. She watched him but didn't move. Next came the antibiotics. Marcus pressed the injector against her shoulder and pushed the trigger. The mother flinched but still didn't attack. He wrapped her broken leg in a stabilizing cast. He covered her with a thermal blanket. "There," Marcus said softly. "That should help." One of the cubs crept closer. It sniffed Marcus's hand. Then, without warning, it bit him. The bite wasn't deep, just a puppy bite really, but it broke the skin. Blood welled up on Marcus's palm. The cub jumped back, startled by what it had done. Marcus didn't pull away. He didn't yell. He just looked at the cub and smiled. "Yeah, you're scared. I get it. I'd bite me too." He pulled out the protein rations. They were designed for Earth carnivores, but the smell was universal. Meat was meat. He broke off pieces and set them in front of the cubs. The cubs looked at their mother. The mother watched Marcus for a long moment. Then she made a small sound, barely audible. Permission. The cubs attacked the food like they hadn't eaten in days. Which they probably hadn't. They growled and pushed at each other, fighting over the pieces. Normal, healthy, hungry babies. Marcus set more food in front of the mother. She sniffed it. Her eyes met his again. Then slowly she ate. It wasn't trust. Not yet. But it was a beginning. Marcus spent that night in the wreckage with them. He set up a portable heater and created a shelter from the wind. The cubs eventually fell asleep against their mother's side. The mother stayed awake longer, watching Marcus. Just before dawn, her eyes finally closed. And for the first time since the crash, all 4 Varathians slept peacefully. 6 days passed before the Luminous Accord noticed Marcus was missing. When they finally tracked his shuttle signal to Theta 7, Commander Zelatoth was furious. The ship landed with a full security team. They came armed with plasma rifles designed specifically for dangerous megafauna. Council protocols were clear. Varathians were to be eliminated on sight. No exceptions. Marcus saw them coming from inside the shelter he had built. Over the past week, the mother Varathian had grown stronger. Her burns were healing. She could stand now, could walk short distances. Marcus had named her Aurora because of the way her crystalline markings caught the light. The cubs were thriving, playful and curious. They had started following Marcus around like puppies. "Stay here," Marcus told Aurora. He didn't know if she understood his words, but she seemed to understand his tone. He stepped outside to meet the security team. Commander Zelatoth stood at the front. His face was cold with anger. "Webb, step away from the wreckage. Now." "No, sir," Marcus said quietly. "That's an order. We're here to handle the Varathian situation. You've broken multiple regulations. You could be court-martialed for this. Then court-martial me. But I'm not letting you kill them." The security chief raised his weapon. "We have authorization from the council. These creatures are dangerous." Behind Marcus, Aurora emerged from the shelter. She moved stiffly because of her healing injuries, but she was still impressive. Still deadly looking. The security team tensed. Weapons came up. But Aurora didn't attack. She walked to Marcus and stood beside him. Not in front of him to attack the strangers. Beside him. Shoulder to shoulder. The 3 cubs tumbled out after their mother. When they saw the armed strangers, they made scared sounds and ran to Marcus. They clustered around his legs, pressing against him. One grabbed his pant leg with its teeth like it was trying to pull him back to safety. Commander Zelatoth stared. "That's impossible." Dr. Venn, the ship's xenobiologist, pushed forward. Her multiple eyes were wide with shock. "Varathians don't bond with other species. Ever. They're solitary apex predators. They don't show protective behavior toward non-pack members." "Maybe nobody ever tried treating them like intelligent beings," Marcus said. He reached down and gently moved one of the cubs behind him. "Maybe we've been so afraid of them that we never stopped to understand them." Aurora made a sound then. Not a growl. Something else. Something complex that had layers and meaning. The cubs responded with their own sounds. It was communication. Clear, purposeful communication. "She's talking to them," Dr. Venn whispered. "That's not just animal sounds. That's language structure." Zelatoth shook his head. "It doesn't matter. Council law is clear. These creatures have killed hundreds of sentients. They're too dangerous to leave alive." "She's not dangerous," Marcus said firmly. "She's a mother protecting her children. Just like any mother would. Just like humans would. We've spent a week together. She's had 1,000 chances to kill me. She hasn't. Because she's not a mindless monster. She's intelligent. She's capable of reason. You're one human. That doesn't mean she won't attack others. Then test her. Bring xenopsychologists. Study her properly. Give her a chance. Marcus's voice grew stronger. Every species in this galaxy got a chance to prove they were sentient. Why not Varathians? Aurora shifted. Her crystalline eyes watched the armed team. One of the cubs whimpered and she made a soft sound to comfort it. The cub quieted immediately. Dr. Venn was recording everything. Commander, I think we need to report this to the Council before taking action. This could change everything we know about Varathians. You want to risk everyone's lives on this human's gamble? I want to not make the biggest scientific mistake in Council history, Dr. Venn said. The security team waited for orders. Marcus stood his ground. Aurora stood beside him. The cub stayed close. And across the galaxy someone was recording it all. Broadcasting it to every Council world. The image of a human protecting a monster went viral in minutes. The galaxy had opinions. Millions of them. Some called Marcus a hero. Others called him insane. The Council debated for 3 weeks while Aurora and her cubs remained on Theta 7 under Marcus's care. Security teams watched from a distance. Scientists recorded everything. The whole galaxy waited to see what would happen. Finally, the Council made a decision. Marcus would receive a research exemption. Aurora and her cubs could live, but only under strict observation. If they showed aggression toward any sentient being, the order to eliminate them would be immediate. Marcus accepted the terms. He had bought them time. Now he had to prove he was right. He moved Aurora and the cubs to a remote human colony world called Haven's Rest. The environment was similar to the Varathian homeworld, cold and mountainous. Marcus built a sanctuary there, a place where Aurora could raise her cubs safely. The cubs grew fast. Within months they were the size of adult Earth wolves. Their crystalline markings developed into beautiful patterns. They learned to hunt the native animals Marcus introduced to the sanctuary. But they always came back to Marcus. Always greeted him with happy sounds and playful tackles that nearly knocked him over. Aurora healed completely. Her strength returned. She could have escaped the sanctuary anytime she wanted. The fences were designed to keep others out, not to keep her in. But she stayed. This was her territory now. Her pack. And Marcus was part of that pack. Dr. Venn visited often. She studied Aurora for hundreds of hours. What she discovered amazed the scientific community. Varathians weren't just intelligent animals. They had complex social structures. They used tools. They taught their young. They created art through their howling patterns. They had been dismissed as monsters for so long that nobody had looked closely enough to see the civilization hiding beneath the predator exterior. We were wrong, Dr. Venn said one day, watching Aurora teach her cubs to work together to bring down prey. We saw what we expected to see. Killers. We never looked for anything else. Marcus nodded. Fear makes people blind. We did the same thing on Earth with wolves, with sharks, with snakes. We called them monsters because we were afraid. Understanding takes courage. The story of Aurora spread across Council space. Other scientists started looking at species that had been labeled as dangerous fauna. They found intelligence in unexpected places. Social bonds. Communication. Emotion. Worlds that had been classified as too hostile for study were suddenly full of undiscovered sentient species. The galaxy was bigger and more diverse than anyone had imagined. It had just taken one stubborn human to prove it. 2 years after that day on Theta 7, Marcus sat on a ridge watching the sunset. Aurora padded up beside him and lay down. She was massive now, fully grown and powerful. Her cubs, nearly adults themselves, played in the valley below. Aurora turned her crystalline eyes to Marcus. In them was something that transcended species barriers. Recognition. Respect. Trust. Maybe even love, in whatever form a Varathian understood love. Marcus reached out slowly and placed his hand on her shoulder. Her fur was coarse and warm. She leaned into the touch just slightly. You saved me too, you know, Marcus said softly. The galaxy thought it knew everything. But you taught us there's always more to learn. Always another bridge to build. Aurora made a sound, low and rumbling. Not a growl. Something peaceful. In the valley, one of the cubs howled. The others joined in. Then Aurora raised her head and added her voice. The sound echoed across the mountains, beautiful and wild and free. Marcus smiled. This was what humanity brought to the galaxy. Not better weapons or faster ships. Just the willingness to look at the scariest thing in the universe and say, maybe we can be friends. It was a small thing. A simple thing. But it changed everything.